Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive deep into Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yeah, definitely a classic.
Totally. But we're not just doing a simple review here. We're going way deeper.
Yeah.
Like, why is this movie from '94 still such a phenomenon?
Well, it didn't just play with genres, it kind of blew them up, you know?
Right. Like, Tarantino took crime movie stuff, the violence, the cool dialogue, and made something totally different. I
Exactly.
remember seeing it the first time and just being like, whoa, what's happening? Because the story jumps around so much.
Totally throws out the whole chronological order thing, yeah. It's like a puzzle, those scenes all over the place.
So how does that nonlinear structure actually work? Why is it so important to the movie?
Think of a puzzle, but you've lost the box. You're just figuring it out piece by piece. That's Pulp Fiction. It makes you work for the story.
Ah, so it's not just a gimmick. It actually changes how we see the whole thing.
For sure, like that opening scene, the diner robbery, right?
Pumpkin and Honey Bunny. Yeah.
Super tense, then bam, cut away. We don't see him again till the very end. It's like a loop, violence and fate all coming back around.
Whoa, never thought of it that way. Beginning, 80 ending, choices having consequences.
Speaking of which, Vince and Jules, those hitmen, what a pair.
Right. Their talks were so weird to me, like about to kill someone, but chatting about burgers and foot massages.
Makes them fascinating though, right? One minute they're cold-blooded, next they're relatable. Messes with your idea of what a hitman is.
It's like Tarantino's using that everyday stuff to show how morally gray they are. Are they bad guys or just guys?
Exactly. And Jules' whole journey through the film adds to that. Starts questioning the whole killing thing, wants redemption after almost dying.
The miracle with the bullets.
Yeah.
Chills every time.
And then his Ezekiel 25.1 scene speech.
Oh, that's iconic.
Not just a cool quote, though, it's a turning point for Jules, trying to justify what he does. He even says it differently at the end, showing he's changing.
Really? I never noticed that. Like, he's convincing himself as much as those guys in the apartment.
Makes you think, is he really changing, or is it all an act?
This is blowing my mind already. Okay, so we've got these hitmen figuring out their morality. What about Mia Wallace? Super
Yeah.
interesting, but also kind of mysterious.
She's Tarantino messing with the femme fatale idea. Alluring, dangerous, but also really vulnerable, maybe even lonely.
Yeah, and her thing with Marsellus is super tense. You never know exactly what's going on there,
Yeah.
but something's off.
You can feel it, right?
Yeah.
And that tension makes her so unpredictable, flirting with danger, pushing limits, almost becomes a victim herself.
Oh, for sure, that overdose scene. Terrifying. Not just the visuals, but the idea that she's so easily disposable in that world.
Makes you wonder, is she a victim of the whole situation, or did she make choices leading to that?
So many questions. But before we go full philosophy mode, can we talk about that dance scene at Jackrabbit Slim's? That's legendary. The music, the outfits, Travolta and Thurman, pure magic.
Sums up the whole movie's style, right?
Yeah.
Retro, but modern at the same time. Tarantino took the 50s and made it 90s.
Like an alternate universe where past and present are mashed up. Okay, speaking of unexpected, what about Butch Coolidge? He's totally different from Vincent and Jules.
Yeah, he's our boxer, tough guy, but loyal to his family.
Right, that gold watch thing.
Butch's story messes with what we think a tough guy is. He can fight, but it's love and honor driving him. Getting that watch back takes him on one wild ride.
Refresh my memory about the watch. It's been a while.
Oh, it's a huge symbol. His family legacy, passed down from his great-grandfather. He went through hell in World War II to keep it safe.
Now I remember. Christopher Walken telling that story
Yeah.
is Captain Coons. So funny, but kind of disturbing too, like a lot of Pulp Fiction.
That's Tarantino, right?
Hey.
One minute you're tense, next you're laughing.
Huh.
And those funny parts often say something deeper about the characters.
Okay, I'm seeing this movie in a whole new light. But we got to talk about the violence. It's a lot. Is it just for shock value?
People have been arguing about that forever. But I think it's important to remember, Pulp Fiction doesn't glorify violence. It shows the consequences, the bad stuff that happens, both physically and mentally.
Like how Jules almost dying makes him rethink his entire life.
Exactly. Or Butch, even defending himself, clearly messes with him. Tarantino's not hiding from the reality of violence, he's making us face it.
And by showing what happens after the violence, it makes us wonder, was it really necessary? Or is it just a cycle that keeps going?
Right. It's not about making violence cool. It's about using it to explore the dark side of human nature.
This is mind-blowing. But we're just getting started, right? There's so much more to unpack.
Oh, absolutely. We haven't even gotten to the music, all the pop culture references, or how this movie changed things forever. Buckle up. We're going deeper. You know, it's wild how Pulp Fiction became such a huge thing. Not just a hit, but a whole phenomenon.
Right. Palme d'Or, Oscar noms.
7 nominations. But people were definitely talking. Not always good stuff either.
Oh yeah, it was controversial. The violence, some of the language.
For sure. Some people are like, too much. But I wonder if we forget the context sometimes.
Yeah, like Tarantino's not glorifying that stuff.
Exactly. It's a reflection, of the world these characters live in. Pulp Fiction's got those old crime novels and magazines in its DNA.
So he's kind of twisting the genre, paying tribute but making it new.
Totally. He takes those classic tropes but adds in dark humor, deep thoughts, even some absurdity, like Butch and Marsellus stuck in that pawn shop basement. Scary, but also kind of funny.
Keeps you guessing the whole time. 1 minute cringing, next minute laughing. So why is it still so powerful after all this time? Almost 30 years.
Few reasons, I think. Tarantino changed the game with his storytelling. The way he jumps around in time, weaving those stories together. It was huge EE back then, and people are still copying it today.
Like he gave filmmakers permission to break the rules.
For sure. Plus, you've got to love the characters. Vincent, Jules, Mia, Butch. They're all so unique, so well written, you remember them.
Each one feels real, even when they're being super over the top.
And the dialogue. Man, Tarantino's writing is just, it's sharp, funny, quotable.
Oh, for sure. Royale with cheese. Zed's dead, baby.
Yeah.
They're part of our culture now.
That's the impact right there. Pulp Fiction wasn't just a movie to watch. It made you think, it changed fashion, it inspired a ton of other movies.
Like he brought this whole new energy to cinema-style A&D substance without apologizing for it.
And he knew what he was doing. Total confidence. No fear of pushing boundaries.
But beyond all the cool stuff, the filmmaking, the style, it also works because it's about something deeper, right? Fate, redemption, trying to find meaning when everything's crazy.
Exactly. It's not just violence and jokes and references. There's a whole philosophical heart to it. That's why we keep coming back.
Like the movie itself is kind of like life, messy, random, never knowing what's going to happen.
Right. Think you've got it figured out, bam, something changes. Pulp Fiction embraces that messiness, finds the beauty in the unexpected.
It's like celebrating life, even the bad parts and the weird parts.
Yeah. With a smile even, reminding us that even when things are dark, there's still laughter, second chances, maybe even a good milkshake waiting.
Okay, that's a nice thought. But we got to go back to the tough stuff for a sec, the racial slurs. That's been debated a lot, and we can't ignore it.
You're right. It's important. Those words hurt. They have history. People are right to be upset.
So how do we see that and still appreciate the movie as art?
It's complicated, no easy answer. Some say Tarantino went too far, it's harmful. Others say it's just how those characters talked in that world, in that time.
Definitely makes you think about language, about representation, about what movies can and should do.
That's what great art does, though, right? Makes you uncomfortable, makes you ask questions. It's not always about having the answers, but facing the hard stuff. Pulp Fiction demands to be discussed.
It stays with you, makes you think, makes you talk about it.
And that's why we're here. Diving in, peeling back the layers, figuring out why it matters.
Love it. Okay, before we move on, I got to ask our listeners something. Imagine you're in Pulp Fiction. What would you do when things get crazy? Go the violent route or try for something better? Think about that. We'll come back to it in a bit. Okay, so that question really stuck with me. Being in that world, tough choices, man.
It's like Tarantino sets up this world where everything matters, Even small things can blow up huge E.
Exactly. But it also shows, even with all that chaos, we still get to decide what we do.
Right, you always have a choice.
So we've talked about the story jumping around, the characters, the crazy scenes. But big picture, why is Pulp Fiction still so important? Almost 30 years later.
Well, Tarantino, he's just a master at making movies, right?
Oh, yeah.
The way he mixes genres, the way it looks, those quick cuts, you're on the edge of your seat the whole time.
And don't forget the music. It's not just there. It's like another character.
Absolutely. The soundtrack is perfect for the mood of each scene every time. But also, Pulp Fiction makes you think. It doesn't give you answers. It gives you hard questions about life.
Like, it's this crazy crime world, but it's also about stuff we all deal with. Redemption. What's our purpose?
Those big questions. And the characters bring them to life, right? Hitmen talking philosophy, a gangster's wife on the edge.
Even Butch, risking it all for his family.
They're all messed up in their own ways, but that's what makes them human. We get drawn into their stories, even if we don't like what they do.
We see ourselves in them.
And that makes us ask ourselves, what would I do? That's the power of a good story.
Pulp Fiction, it's more than just a movie. It's like a part of our culture now. It's still making people talk and think.
It's art that challenges you, inspires you, stays with you.
And it's fun to watch, even after all these years.
Exactly. Each time you see it, you notice something new, you have a different take.
It reminds us that movies can be entertaining and make us think.
So if you're listening, go watch Pulp Fiction again. Or for the first time if you've never seen it.
And don't just watch it. Really think about it. Talk about it with your friends.
It's worth it.
That's all for our deep dive today, everyone. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and we'll see you next time for another dive into something awesome